everyone, it's Jacqueline for Pixie Dust PhD. In late 2020, I became a Disney Vacation Club owner. I've yet to vacation using my own allotment of points from that contract yet, but hopefully that's coming up soon. Prior to being an owner, I usually rented Disney Vacation Club points or I just stayed off-site. Basically, we decided to have a luxurious vacation and rent points or go a little bit on the cheaper end and stay at a Hilton in the Disney Springs area. It's a little bit of both ends of two extremes there. But now I am a Disney Vacation Club owner, so presumably moving forward for all of our Disney trips, we will be staying in those villa accommodations. Overall, this has been very exciting, but my mindset definitely took a drastic turn after becoming an owner. Prior to becoming an owner, I was so focused on saving up money and making the best choice for our home resort, use year, and the number of points. But once all those decisions were made and that process was over, my head decided to fill this empty space with new fears and anxieties associated with DVC. If you want to peek into my thought process, stay tuned to hear about my Disney Vacation Club fueled fears. Realistically, I probably should have made space to work through these fears and anxieties before we purchased Disney Vacation Club. I don't think I even made mental space to consider them. Now I think about them probably a little bit too often. Most of them deal with the slippery slope aspect of Disney Vacation Club and my general not super healthy relationship with money. Hopefully by me sharing, it can prompt you to consider the full breadth of DVC ownership. If you find this helpful, please hit that thumbs up button to like the video and consider subscribing to the channel. You can ring the bell icon to receive notifications whenever I post new videos. First, I am nervous that ownership will change the way we vacation. In the past, my partner and I have gone to Walt Disney World every other year. This was a nice mix for us that allowed us to get to Disney fairly regularly, but also still travel internationally. But the allure of owning vacation points, which then makes the hotel stay feel free, even though it's not, is worrisome. Will I realistically be banking my unused vacation points from every other year when we don't travel to Disney into the next use year? Or will I just instead find an excuse to go down to Walt Disney World yearly? Or perhaps even worse, rather than trips down to Disney World that are 5 to 9 nights long or so, would I change the way I consume Disney completely? I currently live in the DC metro area, which means I have fairly easy access to 3 airports. Dulles and National are in Virginia, and then Baltimore Airport is out in Maryland. Given those 3 airports, and MCO, the Orlando International Airport, is also a pretty large airport, it's pretty easy to find good fares down to Orlando, even for weekend trips. Rather than go on these intentionally longer Disney World trips, I'm kind of nervous I'm going to start popping down here and there on weekends. And this style of travel to Walt Disney World would almost certainly necessitate an annual pass. Necessitate's a bit of a strong word, but at the very least, mathematically, if I'm going several weekends over the year, it's surely cheaper to buy an annual pass than it would be to buy 4 or 5 sets of 2 to 3 day tickets. For now, my partner and I are not annual pass holders, and so this is not a cost that we typically incur. And once you do buy an annual pass, it's cheaper to renew it every year rather than let it lapse and then repurchase a new one sometime later. Personally, I really enjoy spending a long time in Disney. 5 days is my preferred minimum. That really allows me to get in vacation mode. Being able to pop in and out of Disney World on weekends does sound super fun, but I am trying to minimize the amount of time I would take off work for not longer vacations, which seems like that would add a lot of stress to these little quick adventures down to Disney World. Taking a Friday afternoon to evening flight down and then coming back on Sunday just sounds like kind of a hassle. That on top of the annual pass cost, that's kind of a lot. But to be honest, I don't know if I'll be able to resist the strong urge to go to Disney World more frequently, especially when I've already paid for these vacation points, so then it feels like my hotel is free. Next, I'm concerned my partner and I will eventually tire of staying in studios. We're really only planning on traveling to Disney World, the 2 of us, at least certainly when we're using those DVC points. With just 2 adults, there's really no real reason we would need a 1-bedroom accommodation over a studio. But if we stick to the plan and travel every other year, then we will be banking points. And if we're staying in only studios, traveling during cheaper times of year, which is generally when I prefer to travel anyway, not based on the DVC season, just based on my personal preference, well then, that's a lot of points and we probably wouldn't end up spending all of them. We could rent them out, but the taxes surrounding that process sort of stresses me out. And frankly, I bought the contract for me to enjoy Disney more often, so I would like to use my own points. Let's briefly sketch out what the next several years would look like. Odd-numbered years are Disney years for us. In 2021, we're planning to travel down to Walt Disney World. We will use all of the 2021 points, and we're using half of the 2022 points. In 2022, we shouldn't be going to Walt Disney World, and we will bank our other half of points into 2023. I have a 90-point contract, by the way, so half the points is 45. 2023, an odd-numbered year, would be a Disney year then. We would use the 45 points from 2022 that we banked first, and then there are 90 points for the current use year 2023. Ideally, I don't want to bank any of the 2023 points because they would get banked into 2024, and we shouldn't be going to Disney World in 2024. In 2023, we will then have 135 points we will absolutely want to spend. We could do this in a longer trip in studios, or we could do mostly studios and a couple nights in 1-bedrooms. Moving into 2024, we will have 0 banked points from the prior year, and then the full allotment from this year to bank into 2025. Then 2025, which would be a Walt Disney World year, we're going to have 90 banked points from the prior year and then 90 points for that year. Again, we don't want to bank those points into 2026 because we should not be traveling to Disney in 2026. That's 180 points. Staying in studios alone, unless we get very lucky at the 7-month booking window and are able to snag the most expensive resorts, places like the Polynesian or the Grand Floridian, 180 points is a ton of points. For standard view studios at most resorts that don't cost quite that many points, honestly, it would have to be such a long vacation to spend them all. My planned 2021 trip is a combination of studios at Bay Lake Tower, Beach Club, and Boardwalk Villas, and this only cost 135 points. This is for 9 or 10 nights, I believe. That's a long time to be down in Disney, and that did not even come close to the 180 point mark. The 2021 trip is also kind of a special occasion. Just because we haven't been traveling for so long, we intentionally made it much longer than normal. Usually I would guess we wouldn't spend more than about a week in Disney World, particularly because we do have a limited annual leave. Obviously I would love to stay at one of these more luxurious resorts that cost more points. Frankly, the studios at the Polynesian seem like a dream. But I don't have home resort priority, so we would be utilizing that 7-month booking window and probably the waitlist, and that's certainly not a guarantee. So to spend 180 points, I probably don't want to stay for 2 full weeks or longer. I'd like to keep it more reasonable around 1 week. And also I would love to enjoy one of these rooms that cost more points, but if that doesn't work out, I still have 180 points to spend. The next easiest way to spend them, then, is booking 1-bedrooms. And I'm absolutely positive that 1-bedrooms are fantastic. I am just also terrified that once we stay in a 1-bedroom, we will never want to go back to a studio. And of course, it's a lot of points to stay in a 1-bedroom. So then, would our contract feel big enough? Here, this obviously leads into add-on syndrome. But honestly, we could get ourselves to add-on syndrome from basically anywhere. For example, changing the frequency with which we travel to Walt Disney World, particularly if we end up buying annual passes, wanting to stay in 1-bedrooms, etc. As I mentioned earlier, we currently own one single 90-point contract. If we don't change how we travel, that should be more than sufficient. But add-ons are so tempting, especially sometimes when you see those small resale contracts. I'll see a 50-point resale contract pop up for Boardwalk Villas, and I'll look at the total price, and I'll think to myself, gosh, I could buy that right now. I should not buy that, but I could. Of course, we don't need that add-on right now. Hopefully we won't need it ever, but gosh, it is so tempting. More realistically, I think we may actually end up doing an add-on for the new DVC tower that's being built at Disneyland. There are a lot of factors that go into this decision, but here are the 2 main ones. First, Disneyland currently only has one DVC resort, that's the Grand Californian, and it is incredibly difficult to book if you don't have home resort priority, especially the studios. Second, I'm hoping to move back to the West Coast someday, maybe in the next 3 to 7 years or so. Then Disneyland would effectively become our home resort, and I could see us going more often. It's a fair assessment to say I think I am generally interested in purchasing DVC at the new Disneyland Tower whenever that becomes available. However, a new resort means I would be buying directly from Disney and not on the resale market. So then I'm quite nervous that I would be lured into the appeal of becoming a full Disney Vacation Club member per Disney's terms. If I'm buying directly from them anyway, why not buy enough points to meet whatever those terms are? Especially the new tower should have an expiration date very far into the future, probably past the year 2070. Realistically, we probably don't want more than about 75 vacation points or so for the new DVC tower at Disneyland. I suppose it will depend on the points charts, but let's just go with that for now. So fine, let's say we settle on 75 points. But then 75 points isn't that far off from the 125 point minimum.
Future Jacqueline here. As many of you know, I am moving in July of 2021, and therefore in an attempt to get ahead on the vlog, I filmed this in May of 2021. In early June of 2021, we found out that the new direct point minimum purchase to become a full Disney Vacation Club member directly through Disney is 150 points. Anytime you hear me refer to 125 points, please disregard, this is now 150 points. Also note, this is subject to change in the future. For the most up-to-date terms on direct membership, check my recent uploads. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at PixieDustPhD. And to be extra sure of these terms, you should always reference the official Disney Vacation Club website. Back to you, past Jacqueline.
It may not be 125 points in the future, but for now, Disney has this requirement that you purchase 125 points directly through them to become a full member. And with that expiration date very far off into the future, we would be full members for a very long time. Then often Disney Vacation Club will run specials on their new, not sold out resorts. For example, you'll see offers like buy 200 points and save $4,000. That effectively takes $20 per point off the list price. Financially, that starts to look like a deal and becomes very alluring. But of course, we've now jumped from 75 points to 200 in an instant. It can become easy to justify with Disney math, saying things like, oh, we would have access to DVC member annual passes, which are the gold passes, which are a lot cheaper than a standard annual pass. But again, we're not even buying annual passes right now, so I shouldn't really count that as a discount. Access to the DVC member cruise sounds cool, but I don't think it's a be-all end-all. Generally speaking, I still feel pretty strongly that the extras you gain access to by becoming a full member aren't really worth it. But when we're talking about a new build, the only way to get access at first is to buy directly through Disney, so then it's pretty easy to go deep down this rabbit hole. Ultimately, I am trying to avoid being sucked in even further. More points, more contracts, bigger rooms, being at Disney more often. Would I like that? Sure, definitely. But is it a smart decision? No, probably not. Financials definitely do come into play, but more so, I just don't have a ton of annual leave time from my job, so I need to spend my vacation time very wisely. And while I love going to Disney World, there still are plenty of other destinations I need to see. And that's on top of things like family events, friends' weddings, etc. If you have any sage advice for me, I would love to hear it. Leave me a comment down below, or we can chat outside of YouTube on Twitter and Instagram. You'll find me at PixieDustPhD. Also, if you are already a DVC owner, how do you resist the pull to buy more? More vacation points and being more ingrained in the Disney park culture sounds so fun. I genuinely would love to hear your perspective. Thanks so much for coming along my Disney Vacation Club journey with me. I truly appreciate all of your interactions in the form of comments, likes, subscribing, and sharing the videos. All of this talk about my DVC fears and anxieties does have my heart rate up a little bit, so I'm going to go do an activity to relax a tad. I hope the rest of your day is calm, cool, and collected, and we'll see you real soon at Pixie Dust PhD.